So this little video is actually about sketching. So we would plan out our paper, understanding that there may be a mat if we're going to frame it that would be 1/8 of an inch to 1/4 of an inch around. You may want to even take the mat itself, put it over the paper, very lightly sketch that so that in case it's off a little bit, you don't see that after it's framed. But if we're looking at the composition, I picked this particular photograph, actually is what I drew this originally from, because I really liked this asymmetrical design. I often use like Crate and Barrel or Pottery Barn as an example, their photography of some of the items that they're trying to sell, like this planter here. And their Instagram, for instance, has a little bit more of a vignette setup versus maybe just their plain website might just have the vessel by itself. And when you're looking at photographs, like say from Pinterest or something, and looking for something that you like to sketch from, you want to try to look at what is looking forward facing so that if the camera angle is looking down too much at an angle or such, it just makes your overall picture look funny. It might be a good photograph, but may not be actually very good for a 2D design. So as we're looking at this, we would want to plan for that 1/4 inch at the bottom. So we'd want to start with our vessel and just sort of see. Now, when you're looking online, it's not going to be the exact same size, so you kind of want to plan where you want to start and stop as the top of your design here. And you want to use a light line. We use our kneaded eraser here so that we don't leave a lot of filaments and such. And you want to use like a light pencil weight. This one's a little heavier than what I normally use, but it's fine. And I do sell these in my store, but you can get a mechanical pencil anywhere. If you use your number 2 pencil at home, it might be the line might be a little thick and a little heavy, so you can figure that out. So I'm going to take the little kind of figure out the bottom of my vessel or paper here, and using this other as a reference. And I want to make sure that I don't go too far down here, but I want to get it at this bottom corner. And so I'll come around, let's see, this kind of connected actually to that line. So let me draw that in. I wouldn't normally do it that way, but that's the way we're going to do it right now. Draw those side lines and then connect them here. Because I've got my trusty eraser, I can always come in here and kind of fiddle with it a little bit and get those a little more symmetrical. It's always so hard to do the left and right side just the same. When we're done with this, we will kind of lightly erase it before painting, or we'll go over it with a micron pen, so it's okay if we've got a little bit of the double lines on around this edge down here. And then I had this little element at the bottom. So I've got enough room here to add kind of that paint line here. And now I want to see how high I want to make this. Probably about here. Start to go around. Now, I'm not claiming to be the best illustrator or sketch artist by any means. I'm an interior designer by degree. So although I have an art degree, illustration and painting was not my major. So I do it for fun, and I like to teach other people how to do at least the basics. So what I'm going to do now is work on this stem that's going to go up here to the top. And I want to make sure not to go too far here. So I'm kind of looking at that and saying, let me get this line kind of mapped out here. And I want to leave enough room for these top pieces. So I think I'll start with this leaf and copying that. And put that little line in there. And now from here, I'll kind of come up and get this leaf. And of course, no one's going to be looking at your reference, so if it's not exactly right, it's okay. You can improvise because this is not exactly a portrait. So if you have someone's very favorite plant you are trying to do a portrait of, which is kind of silly to think about, then I suppose you'd want it to be as accurate as possible. But we are not doing that here, so now I'm going to work on this leaf and come up like so. Put that vein in there, and now this leaf that goes behind is kind of important because it makes it look a little bit more realistic, because that's exactly how it looked in the photograph. Let's see, this one kind of came down and over that. I don't like how I did that. I'll just come in here and tap the eraser. And up and around like so. And then now I'm coming down here, and it's got a stem on this one, and the shapes are kind of funny sometimes because of the way it's foreshortened in the photography. And like I said, that makes it look a little bit more realistic. All right, so we've got this little guy here, making him a little smaller. It's got the stem, and then this one comes off of there. I want to make sure I fill in this space enough, and I've got enough interest over here, but I want to make room for the bottom to get down that direction. So I've got this stem that needs to be a little bit thicker. All right, now I shouldn't have gone over that because I've got these leaves to do down here, so let me kind of erase that a little bit. And I want these two guys to come up about like so. And then I'm going to connect it to my stem. That way I've kind of figured out that it's going to fit underneath there first. And this one is kind of a funny shape. Let's see, it comes off of that stem a little like that. And this one comes out of the planter from behind. Now we can put the rest of the stem in, go down into our planter, and of course I want to get rid of those lines where they're on top because those are actually behind. All right, we're really getting this somewhere now. So I'm going to work on this area here and then see what I can do to fit these in over here. So this kind of comes out straight. Don't want to go too far over to my edge here, and come down like this, and that's where it kind of curls over. And then I've got this little round one, and I'm running out of room over here, so I think I'm going to edit what I was looking at and make sure I really want to get those fit in there. So those are too big. And I think at this point I'm going to make sure I can get this guy in here, go up a little bit, and at least improvise a little bit so I get that look, because I like that. And maybe I'll go in front of this other leaf so that it looks like this. A little different, but still similar. And now this leaf kind of comes over there. And we have this little pop-up guy. And I'll put him in front, and those will be a little more layered than my original design. Okay, so I've got all of those stems in here, painted like, or drawn like this so that I can go back and paint it. And in the painting then, I'm leaving the white of the paper to add that dimension, and the different colors of paint, which I went under with a little bit of yellow here and there, and then had a couple different tones or shades of green, as you see there. Now, if you're going to paint it from faded lines, like these are drawn with pen, if you want to do faded lines, then you could go over this a little bit, as I told you I was going to show you, and just fade out the lines we drew so that we have a reference when we go to paint. So I'll show you the little bit of paint here. We've got our, grab a paper towel here, and we can go under some of these with a little bit of this kind of yellowy green to get that look, and then we can use some of this palm and tiki and start filling in. So now you're kind of drawing with your paintbrush, and that's a whole different thing, especially if you don't have those lines to follow. You've got to be a little bit more careful. So you'd fill in like this. You can then add, a little bit of browns on these stem lines a bit. Make them look like real leaves that have more texture to them, and keep adding layers. And you'd go back in with a darker green here and add in those definitive lines, and keep working on your layers. That's a little harder to do than having just the boundary lines to help you, but it does give you a subtle look, and you can start building your skill on layering and planning that a little bit more. And so you can see, if you don't erase that, you can come in with your micron pen. This is an 02, and actually I'll use the 005. It's a little more delicate. And we didn't even come in here yet and sort of get the rest of that vessel from behind there. Forgot that part. And really lightly, don't bear down a lot. Depends on how sketchy you want to be. You can make, I like my lines like a little bit, not too straight. I go for more whimsy. And you just have to be careful, because you can start to see where I'm not really doing well at connecting those lines. So you want to kind of think ahead when you're drawing to make sure that it looks the way you want it. And doing the best I can here. And then, because I still have some pencil line, I would come in after that's dry enough and pull that pencil back like so. And even after you've painted this, if you want to add a little bit of pen, maybe don't do everything, but sort of add a little bit of detail there to give an outline, or do the same thing with your pencil in a few places and kind of add a thicker line to give it that definition where you want. If that's too much, if that paint's already dry, you can pull some of that pencil back. So that's how you start working from a sketch.